I think we have to change. Usually when we start that conversation, when I'm asking people kind of blue skies, open thought of like, what do you want the soft unit of action? Don't even call it an ODA right now.
Yeah.
What do you want the soft unit of action to be? And what capabilities do you want whether it's the next evolution of fighting in Ukraine, the possible fighting any other in the Indo-Pacific theater, elsewhere? What skills and attributes and capabilities would you want on a team? And we should drive for it. We got to get the books right, the force design right, or close to being right, and that takes some time when you're talking about how FM and force modernization works in the Army and in the military and in the SOCOM enterprise. It takes time to change those things. So I don't want to be the one who has, volume 2 of America's First Battles if we weren't prepared. Mm-hmm. We didn't prepare fast enough. So should that come for the next great war, did you do enough to be ready for it? And that's why I keep asking challenging questions about that. And usually when I go to the ODA, and Troy's much more versed than I am, but the original ODA wasn't 12-man. It wasn't. It started off at 15, and it was a 13-man, it was a 14-man. Even you look at some of the concepts originally based off the ops groups and elsewhere, and Aaron Bank and others wanted it larger. So there's a lot of people hold on to the magical, mythical 12, but we didn't start off with 12. So yes, I would want, and I do want, more capability, different capability at the team level. Now, having more capability and perhaps having a larger number to start with doesn't mean I envision larger icons on the battlefield, because I think size and digital footprint can be pretty dangerous in the modern day battlefield. So kind of hearkening back to the Jedburghs who operated with small teams, it's what capabilities you'd want in those small teams. So that's everything we're experimenting with right now. So we've experimented with the size of the ODA already. We've experimented with where we're going to converge at. This is happening at the CTCs. This is happening in the operational force. They're all part of this experimentation right now. But I think we have to modernize and we have to change, or I think we'll be behind the adversaries.
Let's talk about the modern battlefield, the next battlefield.
Yeah. One
of the, I think, most impactful things I take away from the trip here to Normandy is D-Day, June 6, 1944, in so many ways set the world order for till today, till modern times. And what I mean by that is that the United States had a whole of society effort. The Allies, I think we need to be broader than the United States. The Allies had an entire whole of society effort that went into World War II. And one of the things that I think that you have to imagine when you stand on these beaches is if you stand on high ground and take yourself back to 6 a.m. on June 6, 1944, there were ships as far as the eye could see.
Right.
And that took years of industry saying, we're not making cars, we're making trucks. You talked about the trucks, we're watching the trucks that were made by Ford and Chrysler, and they made weapons and they made radios, and they didn't make clothes for people at home, they made uniforms.
Yep.
And the whole society mobilized for years to culminate on this one day to change the world and set the world order and let everybody know, hey, when America means business, no one can stop us.
Yeah.
And that held for a very, very long time. But today, in so many ways, we're challenged like we've never been for a very long time. And we can talk about the Cold War and get into that. And certainly that the nuclear arms race was a different challenge, and we face that one. But today we face adversaries that are multidimensional. They're leveraging different domains to get to us, whether it be the psychological operations, information warfare, standard arms, conventional warfare. We're whether we want to believe it or not, we're in a naval capabilities race with China. We're in a space race. They just landed on the far side of the moon. And if you listen to the NASA director, why do we want to go to the far side of the moon? Because we got to get to the South Pole first, because that's how you get to everywhere else. So we're in this fight with multiple adversaries. When you look forward and you assess the next fight, you talked about prevention of the peer-to-peer fight.
Yep.
What do you see out there in the world, and what's your top priority?
Yeah, great question. I'll start with the past and go maybe foreshadow the future of going back to what's old is new, of that industrial base that really the might of the Western world, which really, I think, really helped be the biggest catalyst for winning here, above and beyond the individual sacrifice there. I mean, that took time for America to get ready for that. So I know when Wild Bill Donovan went back to brief FDR after visiting, kind of doing his own reconnaissance out here, he told him, hey, we need to run a Bush League game, and we need to kill the umpire and steal the ball and run out the clock. We had to buy time for that industrial base and the raising for Marshall to actually grow the United States Army to have the depth needed for, successfully invasion and then continuing on to the ultimate objective here of destroying the Nazi war machine there and ending the war there.
Troy gave me the numbers.
Did he?
He gave me the numbers. I didn't know this till yesterday. 1939, there were 130. I don't remember if he said 130 or 150. There were 130 or 150,000 people in the United States Army.
Yeah.
By 1944, there were 9 million.
Yeah. There was, there's so many good things to read about that. When you talk about the industrial base, you got Freedom's Forge, great book, talks about there's, retooling the automobile industry and the shipbuilding industry and all that. But a fair question is, do we have that type of time? And when you talk about the size of the Army and size of the military, it's quite small. It's smaller than the invasion force that was invading Kuwait in 1990 to repel Iraq there. I mean, they were pretty tiny when we talk into the size of a 300 million plus country. So we're going to have to be prepared to take every advantage we can with the current size of our military to make sure we have dominance across all those domains. So to the newest domains, you look at the Special Forces patch, the 3 lightning bolts on it, air, sea, and land. For the domains that existed when we stood up, well, there's 2 more, cyber and space. And I don't think we had moved fast enough and aggressive enough, which is why we've been very aggressive in growth in those 2 domains, that I think SOF has a value proposition there as we work with our space and our cyber partners, which is why I do talk a little bit about our soft space cyber triad and a modern day triad and the tools of a modern day triad in support of the larger strategic nuclear triad. But the tools of modern day kind of influence is revolving around what soft can do and what cyber can do and what space can do. And it's really part and parcel and critical to modern day C5 ISRT. And I think soft has a role in both enhancing, disrupting, degrading, and supporting the Army and the Joint Force and some of that dominance in those other domains to provide other entities in the Joint Force to provide their capabilities. Again, going back to SOF has a unique role to play, contributing back to the Army and the Joint Force. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about where we're at right now because it is uncharted territory. I don't think anyone joined SOF to be told exactly what to do. Here's step 1, 2, and 3, do this. You're probably looking for something different. You definitely, I think people most come and most people most stay statistically for purpose. And I think we provide nothing but purpose there when you're talking about here is a very ambiguous, wide left and right limits of how you can contribute towards being strategically driven in these new domains against these adversaries, which again might not be wearing a camouflage uniform. I'm glad you said whole of society, whole of nation, not whole of military, or not whole of government, whole of society, what's going to be needed to win in this conflict, whether it stays in the competition phase or it goes to high-end conflict. The only way to win is a whole of nation and whole of society approach.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the hardest parts for me when you look back on like something like the global war on terror and you kind of think, well, the military was at war.
Yeah.
Was the nation at war?
Yeah.
We could argue that.